Good, everybody. I'm Jesse. That's Paul. Today we're doing Crane personalities from the New Order. They're the best faction ever. They've been the best faction since Imperial Edition. They continue to be the best faction. So I look forward to seeing some of the best personalities that we're going to see in this entire preview series. Paul, what's up?
Hello, Jesse. How do you do? I'm trying to think of a loophole man activation of powers to which I could say Crane weren't like the best ever, but turns out that does not yet exist this point in time. So, what can I
So,
say? It's good to be a Crane player pretty much at any point in the game's history. Ivory Arc certainly is no exception to that.
so if you're a Crane player, check your privilege and then check out these guys.
Yes.
Daidoji Nozomi, what do you think?
Big thumbs up. So one of the things that happens as arcs go on and sort of themes become established, it become harder and harder to find a card that's exciting that you want to put in, right? So this guy is cavalry samurai, but he's also scout. Scout's a trait. You see scout, you think about scout decks, and they've had a very established scout deck. There's the sort of bagel deck that's just built around falls, but there's also some more take some battle action scout decks because those are Daidoji Tamataka is really good. And when I say scout decks, we're mostly talking about just decks that play a Kage Sensei, right? Case is Gen Con deck from a couple months back before Line in the Sand was a scout deck, right? It had Zemthar, it had Tamataka again. This guy is actually pretty cool. It's a more expensive. It's not just some cheap follower attachment platform, though you may be finding yourself putting some attachments on it. That has naval and cavalry. Like that's a really cool combination of cards. Plus, it has a battle action. Kind of a weak one for naval, but still a solid battle action. This is a good personality. This is a personality that I think is exciting to me. If I'm playing Crane and I'm in the market for a Crane military deck, this is a card that I want to reach for. This is a card I want to play and explore and see how I can use it to disrupt my opponent's defenses. I like Daidoji Nozomi. How about you?
Well, if I was a Mantis player, this card would infuriate me because it just proves that Crane gets to do not only everything, but everything better than everybody else. There was a Mantis personality printed at, I think his exact price point, 7 gold for a 3/3 cavalry guy who became naval, or a naval guy who,
Might have been four, but yeah,
yeah, he was a cavalry guy who
he
became naval if
lost.
you did
Right?
not knew him. He would lose
Yeah.
naval if you assigned him as cavalry. Here's a guy that is only naval if you take advantage of her cavalry ability. So that's
Which
pretty.
is, I don't quite understand the sort of the design impetus behind that. It's like force you to play your cards because even I guess you don't get tons of multiples. I don't quite understand why it's set up to work the way it works. But I mean, I guess it's a good way to like force players to like acknowledge that the engage is a whole new phase that was added to the game in Ivory, and a lot of times as players we try to gloss over it. But people are going to play a lot of Daidoji Nozomi, and they're going to play a lot with Daidoji Tamataka, and it's really starting to create a scout deck that's not just here's a bunch of cheap guys about to fearful volley, and that's pretty cool and exciting. It's the proper evolution, right? It's preferable to me than like a 3/3 for 5 scout that does something small and wimpy.
Yeah, I think the cheap scout design space is pretty full. So let's start printing some more 7 gold ones, and this was a hit. Now, speaking of
Yep.
hits, let's talk about Daijoji Tomomi. This guy is absolute bananas. Um, it's got even more rubbins for the Mantis players. Like, hey, this is cheaper if you could ever make it to five
So
honor.
so I enjoyed Nozomi. I mean, cavalry isn't really a thing you see on a ton of Crane, but it's just like it's such a cool, fun, different design for Crane Scouts. But do we really just have to give Crane Scouts everything? Do they really have to have insane battle ability on Tamataka plus naval cavalry guy plus scout conqueror guy? Is there like I mean, do you just know next star? Are we going to see like the 4/4 7 gold cost scout tactician? I mean, like at some point we're going to stop giving Crane just the best mid game personalities, right? Like, is that day going to come or not really?
No, for the same reason. I don't know. Someone on design loves Crane because they keep getting guys like this. Crane, more than any other faction, is in the market for conquerors. They can play attachments better than anybody
So
thanks
much
to their
better with
stronghold.
yeah.
And so,
Conqueror is a great trait for Spider. When I saw it on Spider, this could be a thing they use because they sort of fall behind tempo, but they maintain the province thing with their box, and then they can have some Conqueror and try to regain it and set up some defensive. Conqueror, when you go first, can just be. I mean, it can just be crushing, right? It's just like I create this wave that I surf till the end of the game. This
absolutely.
guy's really good, and I'm kind of bummed. I feel like I enjoyed Nozomi. I thought it was different, fun, and sort of tricky. And this is just like it's really good, and it's also just kind of this dull, powerful, bludgeoned instrument. There's no cranny silkness to it, and it's just like play this card. It's really good. It won't let you down.
Yeah, this is just a spider guy that's got its HR bumped up and shifted over to Crane. And remember the context.
Right,
So
and
in Arc specifically, you've got the monk who's a conqueror. You've got Zansho who's a conqueror. You're playing 3 copies of
yep.
Mukin to get conqueror. And now you got this, so that's going to be a total of 8 conquerors in your deck. There's going to be draws that just goes conqueror, 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 and then just attack, attack, attack. Strap them all up. Have my entire army on defense. Rally and cry every turn. Like, don't you wish you were playing Crane?
Well, I mean, I guess everybody's gonna have 3 victory through deference, and we can just start using it to hit Conqueror instead of Shugenja. Uh, I like it when you reach a little bit outside of design, but this just felt like unnecessary. And the trait, right? The trait is just delightful. It's like, well, if you were Mantis, you could maybe one day dream of having a good card like this, if only it didn't have a 5 honor requirement to completely reduce the idea of playing it out of clan. Boo.
Yeah. All right. Daidoji Yurei. So we
Well,
love
I
the
guess we
last
can't
couple
say every
guys.
card to home.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
can't all be winners. For the same reason we mocked the other guy going into Mantis, you're really gonna play a 5 PH guy in Mantis. Are you really gonna play a 9 PH 2 force for 6 gold guy in Crane? Certainly not. Do not play
Especially
this
when the
guy.
battle is this weird, like, so there is a Shinichi who gets referenced in one of the cards later down the line. There's a guy from A Line in the Sand. It's like a 2/3 samurai duelist Yojimbo, maybe a guy, and he just makes a straight up Fear 3, and he like does something with duels or he gets enforcement. Like he's just straight better than this guy, right? Like just play that card instead. That will always have a Fear 3, as opposed to this guy that starts out with a Fear 2, but oh, he can be a Fear 17 if only I get his fourth high enough. It's not worth it. You if a card's going to start out underpowered, the eventual final payoff for working to hit his honor requirement and increase his force needs to be more than, hey, I made a Fear 5 effect. Like, not going to do it.
So people are gonna say in the comments is, well, you can give this guy a Justice of the Crane, then he's 5 force, and you can dishonor somebody, and then he'll be 6 force. Don't build that deck. Don't put this guy in your deck. Just let it go.
Right. The idea of, like, I'm going to put a thing and then put a thing and then play a card and then get you. It's very fun to think about, but in practical applications, it generally doesn't work as well as just play really strong cards. And you're great, so it's not
Yeah.
like you're lacking for options here. Be like stop trying to handicap yourself and play one of your eighth worst personalities. Like come on, just play some of your good cards.
Yeah, even the 3/3 for 6 Destined Duelist is better than this guy. Crane is so they're an
Yeah,
embarrassment of
absolutely.
riches. They can go super deep. This guy is there's just not bringing anything to the table. At absolute best, if your opponent slaps down a Broken Sword of the Lion, he's still not good enough. All right, next up is something that we're not going to have a lot of opinion on. We were sort of super high on Momomi, we were super low on Yurei, and here's Shimada. It's a whole lot of blank.
Well, I mean, it's nice sometimes when you get a card that you can just appreciate the art and the flavor text. I mean, that's cool, right? You can have there's a whole novel of flavor text on this card. So that's nice. I mean, it's a game with some story and you want to get some flavor text. This is Magistrate is the only keyword here. So if it was a courtier, I'd say you'll see this card all the time because there's always somebody, specifically Bowers, who's just gonna always play Courtier Crane Honor just to beat me at every event we go to. She's like my personal nemesis. Without Courtier, you still, if you're in the market for just, I mean, this is the best honor to proclaim ratio we're going to see, right?
Mm-hmm.
Full gold for 3PH is as cheap and efficient and as good as you're going to get. Uh, doesn't do anything else right now. What Tales of the Disgraced, and I got nothing. What else
Uncovering
does
the
Magistrate do?
Culprit and Ascension of the Emerald Champion. But honestly, I think that though it's wrong to focus on the traits here. The
I
gold
don't.
PH is the
Yeah,
story, and it's not true that it does nothing. It stands there and lets you have presence to take battle actions.
no, you're. It's true. The numbers aren't terrible, right? Two, three, like so. You can throw off a duel with the 3G guy from time to time. That's not going to kill you. And two force is greater than one, so you won't bow to Kikita Ibarra. So you know perfectly fine. This is a card for the sort of blitz honor decks that don't really exist right now. They haven't really come together this arc. But if you make enough numerically efficient, good PH, cheap personalities, then it's just you're just a few battle actions away, and this guy would be the starting one of the starting stones for that deck.
Yep, I think for all of our strict testing for Crane Honor, this is going to be a guy we reach for.
Yep.
So moving on to their love letter guy, this is an interesting design, a courtesy on a high starting honor faction, I guess to help
Yep.
you in the honor races.
And even though they're completely different cards, they have no overlapping keywords. I think though it's going to occupy a similar design space as Shimada in that you're playing this card because it's 5 gold, 3 PH, 4 chi. 4 is a good number on a 5 gold, 3 PH guy. It's going to throw some duels. It's going to bow to, no mercies. It's going to, and when you go second, it's 4 PH. That's really great. The discard effect, okay. I mean,
Yeah,
if
the
I can
discard
randomly
effect.
trigger a card, that yeah, it's just what the nature of your hand is, right? It's like if you have something in your hand that doesn't feel useful, then sure you'll do it. If not, if you don't want to discard anything, you won't discard anything. Um, I'm not as excited about it as I was the crab battle discard because you could sort of like manipulate them and affect them and set things up in a more interesting and proactive way. Also, offensive versus defensive. But I'll use it sometimes. I just won't ever be that excited about it. It does discard them randomly, so you might get their bomb.
For sure. I think a lot of people are going to read this card and focus on the interrupt. I think that's wrong. You read this card and focus on the 4 chi. Design has really been
Yep.
pushing chi to matter on courtiers. There's a lot of these bow your courtier type effects. And look at the chi. For example, there's the one out of this arc that you bow a courtier and you look at your top 2 fate cards and you can draw them
Yep.
if it's higher. So this will be a guy that does that all the time. He'll be a guy that bows for
But set from all sides, I think it is
yeah,
their banish.
the set from all sides
Uh,
of 4 cards. So this, put great chi, great pH. He can throw off a duel every once in a while. I think this will be a guy that gets thrown in a lot of decks come strict.
very comfortably sits into any number of decks. I think might even see some fringe arc play.
All right, last up is Kakita Daitsu. He is the buddy of the guy Paul mentioned earlier.
Yep, they have very similar art, and I think they're featured on a piece of art somewhere later in the set, like together as pals.
Yep, it's one of the actions. I forget the name entirely, but it's the one that gives
The
the conquer and strains you.
continues the trait of making sure Crane have access to all the keywords and all the things. This is our Kensai because why not? But can only attach one weapon. This guy is. I am just so unimpressed. I mean, maybe if Crane didn't have so many other better options, I could somehow. But a 2 chi duelist where you have to have another personality in play to get to a point where you can comfortably do the majority of the set. And a melee 2 attack when I'm already 3 force more if I put down. I don't really understand it. I don't like it, and I'm never gonna play it unless I'm just so desperate to play in Stillness Forge the Soul of my Crane deck, which could happen. I mean, it could happen, but it's. I don't think this guy's ever showing up in any of my Crane decks. I don't think he's showing up really in anybody's Crane decks.
Yeah, you're gonna be reaching for Horobe more than this guy if you really want Stillness Forge the Soul. But
Yep.
This guy is for some reason he's double hit by the cheap penalty traits of this arc. Design's been
Duelist
getting Duelist a
Kensei.
-1 chi. They've been giving Kensei a -1 chi. So we end up with
Yep.
is a Duelist you can't duel.
Uh,
Um,
my the melee 2 attack, it is unstoppable, but I mean, unless we've all forgotten, Crane get to play Dea Doja Kinte at 6 gold, 3 PH, and bounds for a ranged 4 attack, and he's only 2-4. I mean, it's just sort of like you're just so outclassed by other uncommons. You're not really making it in any X. But man, I really love this art. Is this Hector Herrera? I gotta take a look here. Imar Palomera, man, their art stable has really gotten some good quality work this set.
Absolutely. So that was the Crane personalities. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Will you be playing Kakita Daitsu? Because I certainly won't be. I'm
Go.
Jesse. That's Paul.
Lose.